All right. Good morning again, everyone. Welcome to the Mind, Body, Spirit online meetup group. And today we have a lovely special presenter, Katie Collins. And Katie, let me tell you a little bit about Katie and what we're going to learn today. Katie is her topic is 3 masterful keys to enrolling new clients without feeling pushy. Everyone feels like, women in particular don't want to feel pushy at all. So, yes? Did someone say something? Oh, okay, sorry. Thought someone was asking me a question. All right, so let me just tell you a little bit about Katie. Hold on. Now I'm like fumbling around with my computer. All right, so Katie Collins is a sales and strategy business coach who helps women coaches and wellness practitioners overcome their fear of sales and talking about what they do so they can earn the income they pictured when they first got started in their practice. Her expertise is in sales conversation, niche clarity, packages, pricing, and program content. Katie is gifted with the ability to create a safe, nurturing space for clients to explore their limiting beliefs and transform their fears. She's trained in the art of feminine presence and teaches both the being and the doing aspects of business success. She is founder of Katie Collins Coaching, LLC, and the Denver Femme Talks, which is where I first met Katie. It's her Denver meetup group. And the Denver Femme Talks is a local networking community for women business owners who want to connect and learn in a fun environment. She has also led a sales team over the past 2 years, selling over $2 million in coaching packages each year. Her astute guidance and intuitive nature has supported hundreds of clients to make powerful choices and commitments to overcome any resistance that's keeping them stuck. Katie is also a former, elementary school teacher? Katie?
Elementary school and adult ed.
Oh, for how many years?
Elementary, I was probably there 7, and adult ed, maybe 7 more.
God bless you, woman.
17 years total, so
whoa,
somewhere.
Okay, so she knows what she's doing in the education front and knows human nature for sure. All right, Ms. Collins, take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Liz. All right, I'm going to share my screen here. Okay, so welcome to the 3 masterful keys to enrolling new clients without feeling pushy. I am excited to be here today, and I just want to say thank you to Liz for inviting me to be here. And I've really enjoyed being part of this group I think I've been in here now a month, so this is my 3rd meeting, and it's just been a delight getting to know all of you and being a part of it. So thanks for doing this, Liz. All right, so today, I'm sorry, I gotta move my, sorry. Okay, the videos are in my way. All right. All right, so today you're gonna learn how to make sure every conversation that you have builds that authentic, friendly connection and ultimately leads to an enrollment conversation. You'll also learn how to tell your story so that your ideal clients move from thinking like, oh, that's nice, to thinking, oh my God, you're amazing, and I wanna hire you. And then I'm gonna go through the 6 essential steps that lead to gaining new clients and more money in your bank account. Does that sound good? Thumbs up? All right. All right, so I just always like to start off giving a little bit of information about me and why I'm so passionate about being in this business. So is it okay if I just take a couple of minutes to start there? All right, awesome, thank you. So I feel bad. I'm trying to look in the computer, and then I have 2 different screens I'm looking at. So please forgive me if you're not seeing me look directly at you. But I just want to start by saying I really love the life I've created for myself. You know, as Liz mentioned, I used to be a teacher. And so to sit here today and just be so proud of this person that I've become, this self-aware, committed, powerful, expressive change agent. And I know I'm here to make my impact on the world, and that I can do it in more ways than just teaching. I've more than doubled my income since leaving my job, and I can see just a clear path to eliminating my credit card debt. So going into that question of, what did we, or, what investment did we make that we're really excited about? Well, I've made a few of them that have gotten me from where I was to where I am today. And sometimes I pulled out the credit card to put it on there because I think that sometimes you have to pay in order to make money. Like you have to pay to learn something in order to make the money that you want to make it. So it just feels good to be on the flip side of that. And I can say I never have looked back and wished that I hadn't taken the risks that I've taken to get me here today. Never, even though sometimes it was super scary. So I got into this about 6 years ago. So when I look back on who I was and what I was doing 6 years ago, I'm just like, I'm a completely different person. And truthfully, I really loved what I was doing. My last teaching job was teaching literacy skills to adult refugees that were newly arrived to the United States. And, I was working with some of the most big-hearted people I know, and I felt like I was doing my part to save the world one student at a time. It was just so delightful to teach somebody that had never been to school a day in their life be able to learn how to read in English. It just was amazing. The unfulfilling part was what showed up in my bank account. So for those of you that don't live in the United States, we teachers are not known to be the most well-paid profession out there. And in teaching adult education is actually worse than K through 12 because there's no step ladder of years of experience and education. So I already had a master's degree. I could have gotten a PhD and nobody would have cared. I would have made the same amount of money. So what I realized was I could choose to own a home, which I did, or take vacations, which I didn't, because I couldn't have both. I couldn't afford both. And every vacation I took was unpaid time off, and it just wasn't relaxing. And so I was watching my friends make these career advancements, and I just realized after 7 years in this beloved role, I had to leave if I wanted my life to feel better than it was feeling. And so I decided to go for a new career, and I became a certified coach. And that was huge for me because I was a really popular teacher and I had full classes, but I didn't have to do anything to fill them. And so this was the first time that I had to really learn sales and marketing. And as you know, when sales and marketing is related to you, your personality, your face, your service, it's even more vulnerable than trying to sell some sort of product or some other company's stuff. And so I was really bad at it. And you know what I kept saying over and over was, I don't know crap about sales and marketing. That was my exact phrase. And meanwhile, so somebody said, well, you've heard the law of attraction, right? And I'm like, of course, that's what I'm teaching. And they were like, well, you should stop saying that because you're just solidifying that over and over and over. And I was like, duh. Sometimes we're really good at helping others and telling everyone else what to do, but when it takes, putting it on ourselves, we might not be very good at that. So I stopped saying that. And then I took an angle where I started assisting at other people's workshops and events because then it would force me to get comfortable with sales conversations, taking my ego out of it. Just to eliminate me selling myself, I was like, can I just start by selling anything at all? And you know what? I actually discovered that I liked these conversations. And so that's when I made the choice that I was going to get good at sales. I made a powerful commitment to really learn it well and hire who I needed to hire in order to get there. So I hired a business coach and put my time and energy into learning, and I started to see my progress. And so one day at an event that I was working for someone else, I was on fire. Every conversation I had, boom, 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 7 in a row, $12,000 sales times 7 full pays. And I'm just running their credit card, $12,000, $12,000. And I was like, damn, like I can't wait till this is my money. But the fact that I could actually do that, even on behalf of someone else, felt so, so good. And so I realized, okay, I'm actually really good at this. And then this company realized it as well. So they hired me to be their sales team leader. And as Liz mentioned earlier, we've been selling over $2 million in coaching packages for the last 2 years, in part because of the leadership that I've been doing. And it just lights me up to know that I'm helping people say yes to their dreams. And that's why I wanted to pose that question to you today. Like, whenever we spend a big amount of money, it's scary. And sometimes you might be like, oh, that was the worst decision ever. And I have had some of those. In fact, my coach certification training felt like that. I didn't love the experience that I had, but I've kind of laughingly said, that was one of the most expensive mistakes I've ever made, but it pivoted my entire life because of it. So even if I didn't get what I wanted, I'm really glad that this person enrolled me in it because it really got me on this path. And so what feels so good now is knowing that, one of my clients came up to me and told me she was so grateful that I helped her make an empowered decision to say yes to this coaching package because it aligned with her goals and desires. And it didn't necessarily speak to what was in her bank account or the fear that she had been operating from. And because I helped enroll her, I also got to coach her, of course. And I coached her on her latest offer, and she came home having made over $18,000 in one weekend. Now, this is somebody that came into us as a photographer. And so she really pivoted her business model to help women be seen in a different way. And for her to make $18,000 in a weekend after coming in as a photographer that was making maybe $1,000 or $2,000 in a month, it was huge for her. So just feels so good to help people say yes, and then they create these exponential results. So I've worked with over 200 coaches and wellness practitioners over the last maybe 4 years. It just brings me immense pleasure knowing that because of the work we did together, building their programs and strengthening their sales skills, and then really getting their offers that they're making to be just perfect, they're now making more money for the amazing healing that they bring to the world. And so whether you're a coach or a wellness practitioner or healer, all of us are healing this world, and we're trying to shift that paradigm or the pendulum shift of what is normal, and as far as healing goes, especially in the United States, we're not trying to give people pills to feel better. We're trying to get them to see that inside of themselves is how they're going to feel better. And whether you're working on the physical body or the energetic body or the mindset or all three, we're all bringing healing into the world. And it just feels so damn good, doesn't it? That's what you have to focus on when you're selling. And so it's not uncommon for my clients to make thousands of dollars after a single session with me. And the best part is I still feel like I'm doing my part to save the world, not only in helping my clients make more money to support their families and lifestyles and their communities around them, but also that they have enabled and empowered their clients to say yes to their own healing. So it's just this nice domino effect that I know is possible because of sales. So even though people are a little afraid of sales, I think it's a good thing. All right. So in the past 3 years, I've spent a lot of time talking with hundreds of entrepreneurs, and I've always been asking them, what are their biggest challenges in business? And so many report that they spend thousands of dollars on training programs that were designed to build their business, but they still weren't seeing results financially. So some people keep taking training programs to get more letters after their name, right? Like more certificates, like, oh, I've got this certification and that certification. And other people are taking training programs to actually build their business. But either way, they're finding that their results are still fairly stagnant, and they're feeling frustrated and disheartened, and it's not paying the bills. And so, my clients end up hiring me because they're not making the amount of money that they pictured or that they were promised. And the same thing happened to me when I first got started. They're making enough money to survive, but they're not thriving yet. And, part of it is because they didn't have a specific strategy for getting new clients, and they resisted the idea of claiming a niche because they didn't want to narrow themselves down too much. And what happens there is they were trying to serve everyone, and because of that, their message was landing on no one in particular. That's what happens is you get watered down when you don't narrow it down. So we're going to get into that in a minute. Other things that were happening were that their personal story wasn't connecting to their ideal audience because they hadn't defined their ideal audience. So you'll see later on today why it's so important to have a story that talks to the person you want to be talking to and not just the general audience. If you're trying to talk to the general audience, you're trying to be like Tony Robbins and Oprah, right? We can't compare with the reach they have. So why try? Let's narrow down our focus so that we can get the reach of people that want to listen to us. And then they were talking about processes instead of results. So they were like, oh, I take my clients through this blah, blah, blah process. And it's like all this, you know, jargon that nobody really understands. And then really deep down below all of that, they were afraid of being salesy. That's what it really came down to. All of these other things were symptoms, but when it came down to it, they were really giving up at the first sign of someone saying, I can't afford it. So if you think right now of times where you heard that and that you shrunk the minute you heard that phrase, that's what I want to help you eliminate today. And we're going to get into that. But, you know, when I asked them what they wanted instead, freedom was the word that kept coming up, right? So I hear a lot of coaches say, I'm going to help you get to your $10,000 month. Now, I can help you do that if that's what you want. But for a lot of people, that's not even what they're in it for. They just want a sense of freedom in their life. They want consistent income that feels like they've got a job. They know that they're going to get money every month and they're not worrying about where the next client's going to come from. And they have enough time and enough money to be philanthropic with their heart, that they can give scholarships and sliding scales without eliminating money in their pocket that they actually need, right? So they have plenty to be generous with. And then they also want the belief, you know, that this is going to work, that they can get that healthy, consistent income, that they can plan a vacation and spend money on vacation and not worry about it. And, you know, so the good news is the clients that I've worked with, they get great success working with me. Just quick 2 stories. After hiring me in November of last year, my client, Chris, tripled her income in 90 days. And then after I do these enrollment conversation assessments. So it's just a single session. And I did that with my client, Holly. And after 12 consults in a row that were a no, which is why she hired me for that single session, she made $4,000 the very next day. So not a huge amount, but feels really good after 12 no's in a row to earn $4,000. So what I'm about to share with you, you've likely heard before. And so I just ask you to take off your coach hat and remove the I already know that from your mind over the next 30 minutes. And just asking yourself, what small pivots can I make to what I'm already doing that really could create exponential results? So even if you've heard this before, I just want you to think about what newness can you get from today. All right, so key number 1 is a hot niche, as I alluded to. Most coaches and wellness practitioners groan when they hear about the importance of choosing a niche, and they fear that they're being forced to work from a smaller pond, so to speak. But the reality is, when you speak to a specific group of people and you geek out on what their needs and desires are and what their challenges are, you're actually speaking their language. And they're thinking, oh my God, this person actually gets me and I need to hire her. And so that's why key number 1 is to choose a hot niche and learn how to talk about what you do in a way that lands perfectly for your ideal client. So when you have an enrollment conversation that ends in a no, the first question you want to ask is, was this my ideal client? And if not, then you just want to take a look at your marketing and ask, how are you talking about what you do and why didn't it land on the right person? Why did this other person hear and come to you for an enrollment conversation? All right, but when you have complete clarity on who your ideal client is, you also have complete clarity on who isn't a good fit. And so you can decide not to offer an enrollment conversation to those people and just simply refer them on to someone that's a better match. And that's great for 2 reasons. 1, you served these folks, even though you didn't have to give up your time to do an enrollment conversation because you knew they weren't the right fit. And 2, you're spreading the good love around by referring to one of your colleagues. And 9 times out of 10, that's going to come back to you someday. So it's a good thing to refer out. By claiming who you want to work with, you work in a smaller sea, but at least it's a heck of a lot easier to find your ideal clients in this smaller area. So if you want to know how to put this to work, take a look on this slide here. I'm going to tell you exactly how to talk about what you do so that you and your people can find each other easily. So first, you want to identify the group of people that you most love serving. The best way to do this is if you can come up with an egoic label, like moms, right? Any mom is going to self-identify as a mom. Whereas if you say something like, like I see a lot of people that will use the word like soulpreneur, radiantpreneur. Now, I get solopreneur. That makes sense, right? But soulpreneur, radiantpreneur, people may not call themselves that. So it's okay to use that in your marketing language once you teach them what you mean by that. But you can't lead with a word like that, because if they're not calling themselves a radiantpreneur, they skip right over you, right? So it's got to be a group of people that they're going to self-identify as to start with. And then you want to decide on the most urgent problem that they have that you help them solve. Now, this is just a gateway problem. And I'll just give you a quick example. Like my gateway is sales, right? But I help people with all sorts of other stuff in their business strategy. And when they get on the phone with me, I will point out other things that they need to work on that I can help them with. But the gateway that I see most of my clients having is the fear of sales. So I just want you, so that you're not like, oh, I don't want to just solve this one problem. I just want you to realize it's just the gateway. What is the single most important problem on the top of their mind? And that's what you lead with. And then, of course, you want to provide an exciting solution. So my example here is I help coaches and wellness practitioners whose fear of sales gets in the way of them making good money at what they do. I show them how to confidently sell their service without feeling pushy or salesy. So that second part with the without, right? It's kind of the objection that they're going to have by signing up with you or by saying yes to this dream, right? And in my field, what I'm finding is a lot of people are afraid to be salesy. So when you have these 3 questions answered as you talk about what you do, you're naturally going to attract the folks that want to work with you. And there's no convincing anybody. So the action step for this particular key is to try to answer, like fill in this template, answer these 3 questions with your ideal group in mind. Because when you do that, you're going to enjoy talking about what you do so much better, because you're actually talking to the right group of people and you're excited about the solution that you're providing. All right, so key number 2 being your personal story. So a lot of people
Katie?
tend to skip.
Excuse me 1 second. Just so you know, we've got 7 minutes.
Got it.
Okay.
So a lot of people tend to skip telling their story, or they tell it quickly because they get embarrassed about taking too much time to talk about themselves. But the truth is, when you learn to tell your story so that it's actually about your ideal client and you, it leads to enrollment at a higher rate. And so that's why you want to tell your hero's journey story, making it a compelling background story that gets your listener to understand why you're the perfect person to help her. All right, so the essence behind the story is what you see on the screen here. I get you. I was once where you are now, and then I had an insight that changed everything, and now my life is so much better. And that's why I'm so passionate about the work I'm doing now, because it changed my life, and I believe it can change yours. All right, so I'm going to give you the kind of key elements here of the story itself. You've got 4 points that you're going to talk about. You've got the high point where you position yourself so the listener doesn't feel sorry for you when you go into your low point. The good segue into the low point is something like, but it wasn't always this way, or when I look back on my life, I can't believe how far I've come, right? Some sort of transition to get into the story of where life was rough for you. Now, at this low point, it should be the low point your ideal client is now facing. That's how you're building the connection, okay? Then you get to the turning point, and that's the guiding light that you're letting them know, ideally, you're telling them that you took this action that you're asking them to do. So the turning point might be, then I hired a coach, or then I got healing, or I learned this methodology. I used it on myself. Life got so much better, right? And then you get back to the high point where you're leaving them with inspiration and you're encouraging them to take action. All right, so those are the key elements of your hero's journey story. All right, so key number 3, I'm going to go through my 6 steps really quickly for the successful enrollment conversations. 2 things that I want to just start off by saying. 3 common mistakes that people make all the time. 1, they don't use a template, and so they run out of time and they go off on tangents. 2, they don't practice these conversations. And 3, they don't know how to establish a real connection. So what I'm doing today is showing you these 6 steps. And part of that is so that you can avoid these mistakes. And at the end, my action step for you is to create your own template. All right. So the first thing that they need to be enrolled with is your being. And so you have to be super clear who you are and what you stand for. And so that you want to be the same person in business as you are with your family and friends. That's how you establish connection. You're not trying to separate your life. You're being fully and authentically you. And people appreciate the authenticity that you're going to bring to the table because of that. And then the second thing that you want to make sure that you're doing is like the doing aspect of these, which is really just getting clear about the purpose of these conversations, which is not to, quote, get clients, but it's more of a, how can I see if what I'm offering is a good fit for this person? Just checking and check. Okay, 3 minutes. All right. All right, let me just move quickly into step 1 here. You want to build rapport and connection. Connection literally matters more than anything. And the way you build that is by doing your hero's journey story and asking them what from your story sparked something in them. So that way you're asking them to connect, okay? Once you've connected, you move into step 2, which is learning about them. You want to start with their vision and then get into the challenge, right? So sometimes I've seen templates that switch that, but really what I found is vision pulls somebody so they don't have to be pushed. So you're not pushing them into a sale. It's their own vision that makes them inspired and want to sign up with you. Don't rush through this step because you really need to get to their pain point in order to, and their vision, in order to inspire them to sign up with you. All right, step 3 is exposing the gap. So here's where you ask them, well, first you want to thank them for being vulnerable with you and acknowledge them in some way. And then you want to ask them if they're open to a reflection back of what you're seeing, and that's when you expose the gap, what you're noticing. And of course, you want to point out the things that you can help fix with your program or service. Ideally, during this step, you're also giving them a couple of resources or tools or recommendations so that they feel like they got great value from this conversation, whether or not they hire you at this time. All right, after you've served them in some way, you want to make the offer, right? So this is the map that you're showing them how to get from where they are to where they want to be. And so just note that the package or program that you're offering has to be results focused, not process oriented. Telling them this package or program is going to help you get X. You said you wanted X, that's why my program covers blah, 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 right? So always relating it back to what they told you. All right, and then step 5, this is the mistake that most people skip, and it's that they don't ask for the sale. They think that because they made the offer, the ball's in the court of the potential client to say yes or no, right? But it's not, and what they're looking for is you to be the leader. So this is not the time for you to shrink. This is the time for you to stand so firmly in what you offered. You feel like it's a gift that you're offering. It's a great deal. It's only $5,000. Could be 10, right? Like that's the mindset you want to be in. And then the simple question you ask is, so are you ready to get started? That way you can tell if they're leaning in or leaning out. Don't move through this too quickly because you will not make a sale. So you need to address every concern they have, make sure that it's addressed fully and completely before you go to the next step, which is make an agreement. And so this is either an agreement on, great, you said yes, here's my agreement, let's schedule your first session, let's collect payment, or it's an agreement on next steps in terms of they're not ready to say yes yet because they have to move money, talk to their partner, or think about it. And so you want to set a deadline, and it should be about 3 days, no longer than a week. And the reason for that is their thinking will not get clearer. In fact, it will get muddier. So they have all the information they need right now if you did a good job on this call. So if they need to move money, talk to a partner, that's fine, but they should not need several weeks for that. So really try to put an end date, set a follow-up call, set an appointment, and ask them for a commitment to show up, whether they're a yay or a nay, right? You don't want to get an email the next day that says, oh, I changed my mind, I'm going to cancel the appointment. All right, so I know we're running out of time, and I want you to be able to have time for questions, but I would love to stay connected with you. So I've got a couple ways to do that. The first is you can grab a free copy of my ebook by entering your name and email on my website. it's the website's under construction. So there's, it's just a landing page right now just for this ebook. So you just go to coachkatiecollins.com and you'll see the opt-in box right there. So I'd love to send that ebook to you, how to get good at selling your service without feeling uncomfortable. And then you're going to be able, by getting that ebook, it's similar to what you heard today, but you'll have it in writing so you can refer back to it. All right. And then the second thing is I have a Facebook group called Wealthy Holistic Solopreneur Sisters. I just started it, so it's just amping up right now, but I would love for you to be a part of that group. So you can do that search for that Facebook group name. And also just send me a friend request. You can find me, I'm in the Mind, Body, Spirit group, so you can find me there. Just click on my profile and send me a friend request because I just love staying connected. And I don't do much with my business page because, as we all know, the business pages don't do much for Facebook, on Facebook now. And so I just wanted to say thanks for being here. And I know I talked a mile a minute, but I wanted to get in as much as I could for you. And we've got, just a few minutes. I won't keep you here until 15 after the hour if you don't have questions. But if you do, I'm going to stop screen share so I can see the chat. And you can raise your hand or chat it up. We'll go from there. I got a private message saying they love my Bitmoji slides. I was pretty excited when I created those, I will tell you. All right, any questions? You girls are so quiet.
Well, I'm not going to be quiet for long, Missy. First of all, I want to tell you, say bravo on your branding, your visuals. Excellent job on your logo. I love that that's a sacred geometry symbol you got going on there, right?
Yeah, well, I chose it gemstone.
What? Oh, it's a gemstone. It's the whole,
yeah, because my whole thing is rock your sales.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I love crystals and gems, and so I was really trying to bring in my personality completely. And, I'm not like a super healer type, but I got a little bit of it. So I wanted to bring a little bit of it.
As a teacher, you're a healer, honey. Don't sell yourself short. All right, I'm going to kick it off with a question because I do have a question.
Okay.
So in regards to the hero's story, when is it appropriate to tell that story? Would it be in a one-on-one conversation, or is it really more happening at an event like this where you're telling a story, or both?
Oh yeah, I'm so glad you asked that because I skipped that part in my notes because I was running out of time. So in my mind, you have to have different versions of your hero's journey story. So I kind of drew that box without a lid, right? So what I do is write 1 to 2 key points for each point. And so that I know if my story is 30 seconds, I'm covering all 4 points. If it's 5 minutes, I'm covering all 4 points. And if it's 10 minutes, I'm covering all 4. So it's going to be 20 to 30 seconds at a networking event, right? Often people will say, oh, how did you get into that? Perfect time to tell your story. But you don't want it too long because they're, you know how it is when somebody yap, and you don't get a word in edgewise. So you got to time yourself so that you are aware that you're not going on tangents and you've got a 20-second version. So that's where I would do it at a networking event. And then on the enrollment conversation, I definitely start by saying, hey, since we're going to spend the next hour together, would it be okay if I share my journey? And then what I found is if I do a speaking gig like this, where you've heard my story, and then if you were to book a consult with me tomorrow, I don't want to tell you my same story, but that's when I'll say, I know you heard my story yesterday. I'm curious if that sparked anything in you. And I thought that would be a good place to start. So I'm building connection without retelling a story.
Gotcha. So if someone comes to you as a referral though, do you have an intake form or anything so you get an idea as to where they're at and then you'll know where that story should land for them or how you're going to tell it?
I do. I have an application for my consult, and I no longer do free consults anyway. So there's definitely some skin in the game by the time someone gets to me. But if I do offer free consults, I may do it as a gift somewhere. Then I'm definitely looking at the application. And and so if I don't feel like it's a good fit, or on a scale of 1 to 10, this is a cute thing that someone taught me. On the scale of 1 to 10, eliminating 7 and 8. Where are you on the commitment scale? Because it's basically like you're committed or not.
Yeah.
And so I literally removed the numbers 7 and 8 from the scale. So they can only circle 1 through 6 or 9 and 10.
I love that.
And so, if they are not committed, you know, at a 9 or a 10, I'm not going to spend an hour on the phone, especially for free.
No.
Yeah. So, yeah. So hopefully that answers that question.
Yeah. So I know Deborah has a question, but I want to say one more thing. So have you done, you know, I've cut way back on the free thing because it's like, I do the intake form. I make them really go through it. I'm not here to sift through your stuff is essentially what I've come to. And you get 15 minutes of my time. So take it or leave it kind of, you know, we're all giving away way too much time, if you ask me.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think that it's a really good idea for new people that are looking to get clients. Like, great, give away your time, because I think that every consultation is valuable, right? Because you can walk away and say, oh, I kind of screwed up this, or, you know, but when you no longer have a lot of time, now it's time to either stop giving them for free or shorten the time or that kind of thing.
Good point. I agree with that as well. If you're a newbie, you've got to practice. You got to practice your thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Deborah has a question here. Deborah, you want to just ask it, honey? I see the chat, but I'd rather hear your lovely voice.
Okay. Yeah. The question that I had is, you know, an intake form. I haven't really done an intake form with my free consultations. What are one or two very targeted questions that are going to be very effective in the enrolling conversation?
I think commitment is one of them. You know, how committed are you to getting X result? I don't necessarily eliminate somebody if they're not committed, but I may email them and say, I'm curious about your commitment level. Tell me more about that, because I don't normally talk to someone who marked, right? So I don't eliminate them, but I'll engage in a conversation about that. So I think the commitment is a huge one. I also think it gets you a good sense when you ask a question like, what have you tried in the past to eliminate this problem, right? So it's like, what's your urgent problem? What have you tried in the past to resolve the problem, and how has that worked for you? I think if they're clear in that response, if they're honest, you can tell, is it that they're playing small, that they're, are they playing the blame game, or have they never invested ever? And this is their first time, right? So you're either going to get somebody that's invested several times, they've had no results, and they're feeling a little icky about investing again, because what if it doesn't work again, right? Or you're getting somebody that's never invested before and it's really scary. And then you know how to approach that when you're on the call with them, right? Oh, I get it. I know what it's like to have hired someone and not gotten the results, versus, oh, I get it. I know what it's like to take that first step, to invest for the first time. And it's scary and exciting at the same time, right? So you meet them where they are by them answering that question.
Awesome. One more question. I know that I have, you know, clients where I have sold them a package, say like a 5-week consultation. What do you use to convert after they finish that 5-day package to go to another, to sign on again?
Sure. I have a template that I work from that's how to enroll a client into a new package or program. And so like the second to last session, I would say, hey, next session's our last one. Could you leave about 15 minutes extra? Let's extend the session so we can talk about what we've accomplished so far and where we might be able to go from here. So it kind of sets the stage. And then I go through all my notes and I list every result that I helped them create or that happened. I don't want to say I helped them, but like the work we did together, you know, creative results, I list all of those. And then on the call, I ask her, what are the results that you know we created? And usually they'll list, you know, maybe 3 to 5. And then I have like a list of like 15. And I'll say, would it be okay if I share some of the other ones that I've listed? So that they're like, wow, we really did accomplish a lot in this package. And then I'll say, and there's so much more to do. Would you like to take a look at what it would look like to continue working together?
Thank you so much. That's perfect. Exactly what I needed.
All right.
Thanks, Katie. That was good.
Question. Yeah.
Who else has questions? I got to go look back at that list. Lisbeth.
Yeah, it's funny about this one, you know, when you promise this is the results I get, because I'm a bit wary about that one. I'm still in says or something. Because sometimes I got people that's like, well, I've tried this, I've tried that, I've tried, and I don't want to work with people that want me to carry them through. So usually I ask them if, so are you ready to no longer try, or are you ready to do? So there's, I'm just ruminating right now. So to me, there's something like, I want them to take responsibility. I don't want to carry them through.
Yeah.
So there's some people that's like, so can you do this will my tinnitus or hearing issues, will they disappear? And it's like, they have to be ready to walk the path. And then I'll join them and we'll walk together. So I'm always like, so I can't promise you anything. And I'll only work with you if I'm certain that, I only go into this if I'm certain that it'll change, make a change.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So how I would handle something like that is when it comes time to saying, are you open to me reflecting back what I've been hearing so far? And they say yes. So you got the permission. And then you say, with like as much compassion in my heart as possible, I want to point out that you've been the common denominator in the other healing things that you've tried that haven't worked. And what I'm noticing is there may be either a lack of commitment or a fear of, if I actually solve this thing, like what are you getting out of having this problem in the first place?
Exactly.
And so, right, so then I would say what I would recommend for you is that you've got to work on both who you're being in life that's creating this and like what you're getting out of it, and the healing part, so that we can shift what hasn't been working at the same time as doing the healing, that kind of thing. So I'd point out what hasn't worked and why, and how I would help eliminate that from happening again. Does that help?
Yeah. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
That's great, Katie, to point out what you just did. That was awesome. Because people, what are you getting out of, it's a victimhood garbage or whatever, possibly.
Yeah.
It's all this lower level unworthiness, whatever, and unwillingness to let it go. So a good question.
Ownership, right? Ownership of where they are. But what I think is so important is that they see you now as a healer that's not coddling. Because that was my biggest breakthrough when I first got started. My mentor was like, you are too nice. And I was a, refugee teacher. Of course I'm nice. These people have been through hell, literal war, right? So of course I'm hugging them and I'm coddling every move that they make, right? But as a coach, he was like, you're not serving them if you coddle them. So sometimes you got to put their feet to the fire and point out their behavior that's keeping them stuck. And that was huge for me. So anyway, I think when you do that, people get a lot more respect for you because they're like, oh, this lady's not going to take my shit.
Good.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
So, and that's what I meant when I said, bring all of you to your business, right? If you're like a little sassy, bring that to your business because people appreciate that authenticity. Yeah.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah, we can't be afraid to hold people to the fire. I agree. It's like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm not messing around here.
That's how results happen, Yeah. So.
Exactly. I agree. All right. Our time is up, but I'm happy to stay if anyone else has questions. Katie, thank you so much. Great job today.
Thank you. This was so great. Yeah, this really.
Points that are vital.
Thank you.
You found a good niche there, woman. Good niche for you.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. The rebrand is definitely bringing some,
new energy.
I just can't wait for my website to get done. But yeah, new energy and new confidence in me. And yeah, it shows. Good, so
yeah.
Thanks.
Good job.
Thanks.
Very good. I've seen a shift in you too, by the way. Just saying.
Yep.
Since the last time I saw you.
I mean, hopefully we're all shifting and growing, right?
Oh, yeah. We can't help but do that unless we take a dive off the deep end, which I don't recommend. All right. So at
least without support.
Yes. All right. So if there's no more questions, we're going to cut everyone loose. And I would highly recommend that ebook from Katie. So it has everything you just covered in that book, right?
Pretty much, yep.
I want to go look at that again. That's a great template to follow and ask yourself questions all along the way, because that's fantastic. All right. So thank you, everybody. And no meetup next week, gang, no meetup. But the weekend after that, we're going to talk about sales funnels part 2. I mean, as dry and boring as that sounds, they're kind of essential. Little piece of the puzzle. And once you do them, you're like, they become easier. All right. Katie, thank you so much, my dear. So nice having you here.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity, for all your questions and energy. I could feel your energy, which is so helpful, of course, as a presenter, to know people are listening.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Sophia, so nice to meet you. Dorothea, so great to have you. And Yara Sutra, what a nice name. Nice to have all of you newbies here this week, and all of our regulars. Love seeing you. All right. Namaste. Adios. Ciao.
Bye.